Well, hi, Katie.
Hi. B-
Welcome, welcome to episode 3.
Well, I feel like
What?
I have to say it. Da 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 da! Live from our living rooms.
Live from Fork High School.
It's
It's
Twilight
Twilight
tonight.
tonight. Bow, 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 down, bow. Hell yeah. I was thinking because I actually have been watching Saturday Night Live that, they do a whole sketch and then they say Saturday Live from
Oh,
Saturday.
okay. Okay, I'm down for that.
And so I thought maybe we could do our little intro and our little check-in. And I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you what what is it? What if your week, okay. All right.
How did you if
Yes. If you if you could pick a character to be for the
Okay, Bia. If you had to compare your week, no, 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 no. How did you feel all week? Compare how you felt all week to a character in Twilight.
Yes, yes, Katie, you put it into the words that not even Shakespeare could have put
Not
into.
even AI itself could formulate that fucking sentence.
Thank you so much for asking. And, before I read this chapter, I did want to say that I felt like Jasper because though we haven't, gotten to learn more about him yet, those who know the movie know that he looks like he's like coked out or something. And I did tell you this story earlier, but I felt that way because I accidentally took my friend's ADHD medication instead of taking my antidepressants for a week. It happens, I guess.
Yeah, you're just jumping off
Um,
walls.
but I think also after reading this chapter, I feel like the guy behind the wheel, out of
Oh,
control, crazy,
mm.
slipping on ice,
It was Tyler.
a little bit, Tyler. How about you, Katie?
That's
If
beautiful.
if you could pick a Twilight character to represent your week.
So so okay. I have two characters. Is that okay?
Well, I had two characters,
Oh,
yes.
true, 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 true. On Friday night, I went out with some friends and we went
Whoop,
out to
whoop.
a bar. So
And
I felt like Bella at the prom.
yes.
Okay. And then the next day, my boyfriend woke up and he was deathly sick. Not actually, he just had a cold. And I was like, okay. And then I kind of felt like I had a cold, just kind of like a, you know, post-nasal drip.
Mm,
And I feel like vampires don't really get sick. So I was thinking just like Bella in the hospital when she breaks her leg.
yes. Yes.
Just a little bit
Or maybe
sweet,
even,
or
Bella pre-turning, she
that's
gets
what I was
she gets
thinking. I was gonna say that originally, but I was like, is that offensive? Is that offensive to Bella?
it may be. She really goes through a lot.
She is a little bit, though, I feel like. That's just I felt weak and frail. You can still kind of hear it. I'm a little stuffy. I'm just stuffy. But yeah, those are the Twilight characters that most compared to my were most similar to my week. Holy fuck, we gotta figure out how to say that.
Like, maybe in the next couple of episodes we'll figure out how to phrase it. Comment down in the comments below if you know what we're trying to say.
Okay, yeah, so this chapter is chapter 3, Phenomenon.
Phenomenon.
Yeah, Phenomenon. Um, Bella
Phenomenon.
wakes up and she realizes that it snowed and she's so pissed off.
She's pissed. Once again, Bella just doesn't like the little things.
She literally said, I jumped up to look outside and then groaned in horror. I wrote a note that says that she hates weather. She literally, the whole time in this book, she's like, oh, I hate the snow. Oh, I hate the rain. Oh, it's too bright out here.
Oh, the wind. Oh,
This
just
tree.
no, literally, the tree.
And then she's just worried about being clumsy. She's like, oh, I'm so clumsy. I'm gonna fall.
Yeah, she's
Um,
looking outside and she's just already scared of she said, which is cute. I was gonna say episode, but this chapter is really very Bella being clumsy centered. We get to page 54 and she's, just sort of getting ready for her day, gotta get a bowl, gotta have cereal. Um,
And some orange from the carton, some orange juice
mhm.
from the carton. God damn it.
Some orange from the carton.
Just an orange.
She says that living with Charlie is sort of like having her own place. And she says, I found myself reveling in the aloneness instead of being lonely. She also says that she was feeling excited to go to school, which is something that you wouldn't think that Bella would say.
Um, Wait, something you would think she would say because she's a little bit of a bitch.
Okay.
She goes, "I knew it wasn't the stimulating learning environment I was anticipating or seeing my new set of friends." Okay, we get it. You hate your friends and you're smarter than everyone in this school. But she was excited to see, Edward Cullen, the one and only, and she goes
And she says that was very, very stupid.
she also has a bit of an insecure moment, and she's like, "Ah, but he's so out of my league." And I just like I feel like there's so many moments in this where she's like, I like literally we see it here. She thinks she's better than everyone because she doesn't like any of her friends. She thinks she's smarter than everyone. And then the next paragraph, she's like, "Oh, but Edward's so much better than me." So literally the only person who is above
Yeah.
her. And I feel like that's evident.
Who knows? I don't think that he would say the same, right? I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to form a thought of
Dia is
them
Kevin.
being together and her sort of always being at his beck and call and willing to throw away her entire life.
Codependent.
Yeah,
More into that as it goes on because seriously, I think we could do like a psychological codependency study. I don't know.
absolutely.
So she carefully drives to school. She's like just
Oh,
thinking about, oh,
right before she, gets in the car, she actually falls down the stairs of her front steps,
she
and
does.
she does. She says, hold on, it was page 54. Sorry, I keep losing my space here.
No, that's okay. I have it took every ounce of my concentration to make it down the icy brick driveway alive. I
Oh,
almost
she almost lost her balance.
I think
Well,
in
in the
the
movie,
I was
I
gonna
think
say they
this scene is
combine
so.
in the movie they combine her getting the truck and this part of her falling. Because it looks like she
Oh,
falls and then Jacob helps her up, or am I wrong about that? I feel like I'm wrong.
no,
Just
you know what?
talking
I think
about
you're right.
I don't know. Maybe she just falls multiple times in this fucking goddamn book.
I am going to share my screen
Okay.
and okay, this is just so funny.
If I get up, I might fall back down again. So let's get up, come on. If I get up, I might fall back down again. But we get up anyway. If I get up, I might fall back down.
Oh my God.
Uh,
It is a video called
that's
Bella Falls Down by Blood Tower 9 on YouTube. For those of you listening, it is just clips of the same clip of Bella falling down, so down the stairs. I think this is still her way to school. Um,
yeah. But yeah, she's driving to school. She's
yeah.
thinking about Mike and Eric, and she's comparing. I think it's funny. She says, "There's an obvious difference in how teenage boys responded to me here." They're all obsessed with her. And something she says, which I literally said in my book, I wrote yes times three. She goes, maybe it was just that the boys back home had watched me pass slowly through all the awkward phases of adolescence and still thought of me that way. Perhaps it was because I was a novelty here, where novelties were few and far between. She goes on to continue. But my point is that I feel like I fucking went to the same school and like knew the same people K through 12 and I saw most of them that way. Like I remember, when they were annoying in 6th grade and like even if they were a little cute in 11th grade, I didn't care because they were annoying in 6th grade. So I do feel like the novelty of her is just like every time there's a new person, it's exciting, it's fun. So she definitely
Absolutely.
got that going for her.
When I read that, I was thinking that you would relate to it. I very much was always switching schools, so everyone was always a novelty. to me. Perhaps I was also a novelty to
The part that's the best is after that, she gets to school and she goes, "When I got out of my truck at school, I saw why I'd had so little trouble. Something silver caught my eye and I walked to the back of the truck, carefully holding the side for support to examine my tires. There were thin chains crisscrossed in diamond shapes across around them. Charlie had gotten up who knows how early to put snow chains on my truck." Come on.
So sweet.
Do you
And
remember
really
the last?
shortly after, she says, I wasn't used to being taken care of, and Charlie's unspoken concern caught me by surprise. She is like about to cry in the parking lot.
Fucking mother has never taken care of her in her entire life. I feel like this is such a just such a juxtaposition. I feel like I've already said that twice, but that's okay. Literally, I love Charlie. That's all. That's all.
Charlie is really sweet. As she's taking a look at the chains in her car, she hears this like squealing behind her. And she, like, at the same time that this is happening, she sees Edward. He's 4 cars down from her. And so, he's a little far away. And she turns around and she sees this van plummeting towards her, and everything is moving in slow motion, and she doesn't even have time to close her eyes. She sees this van speeding towards her, and then she gets hit, and it's like not from the same direction that the van is coming from, and she's like thinking that it's the van. And
One thing I wanted to
yeah.
note says I felt something solid and cold pinning me to the ground. And I was just like, okay, foreshadowing, solid and cold.
And then she sort of is starting to piece together what's happening, and then she sees the van still coming towards her. So, like, she's been pushed down by something other than the van, and then she sees pale white hands, like, jut out in front of her and stop this van, and it dents the van, and the van sort of, like, bumps back, and at the same time, like, the van is picked up and she's moved, and, like, her legs are almost broken.
Well, she says, then his hands moved so fast they blurred. One was suddenly gripping under the body of the van, and something was dragging me, swinging my legs around like a rag doll till they hit the tire of the tan car. I think that image is so funny because truly, like, that image is just so funny to me. I could just see fucking Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart's little fucking skinny little legs. Just,
It just
just fucking cool. And then
then she
she said,
hears then she hears this chilling voice whisper in her ear, "Bella, are you alright?"
I I wrote hot, and there's a couple of those where I just wrote, um, he was holding me against the side of his body in an iron grasp. Hot. I'm sorry, that's hot.
I'm with you there.
And then he says, "Be careful." I think you hit your head pretty hard. Okay, that's all my hots.
Well, the be careful while it is hot, it's the start of his, you
Dun, dun,
know.
dun, dun, gaslight. Truly
Ah.
the gaslighting of the century in this fucking chapter. It's so fucking funny, and I love the way that she wrote it because half the time she's like, "Yeah, Edward's just like laughing at her," kind of.
Yeah. She asks anything, and like, he cracks a little smile, and she realizes that her head is bleeding, and he's like, "Hee hee."
Right when he starts laughing, I wrote, "What the fuck, not hot," because he just starts like suppressing his laughter.
Yeah, she's confused. "How did you get over here so fast? How, like, what? You were just standing super far away." And he was like, "No, I was standing right next to you." Before she can ask more questions, there is a crowd of people swarming around them. They're crying and they're screaming Bella's name, and they're just like, "Oh my God." And, like, while all this continues to happen, Bella is pushing Edward. She's like, "No, you weren't right next to me. You were 4 cars away. How did you get here so fast? How did you even, like, it dented the truck." And he was just brushing her off, and she goes, "Will you promise to explain everything to me later?" And he says, "Fine." And they have sort of like a hot, like, fine, fine.
Okay, I'm gonna start from a little ahead of that. He goes, Bella, I was standing with you and I pulled you out of the way. He unleashed the full, devastating power of his eyes on me, as if trying to communicate something crucial. No, I set my jaw. The gold in his eyes blazed. Please, Bella. Why? I demanded. Trust me, he pleaded. Hot. His soft voice overwhelming. I could hear the sirens now. Oh God, excuse me. I can hear the sirens now. Will you promise to explain everything to me later? Fine, he snapped, abruptly exasperated. Fine, I repeated angrily. Yeah, I feel like that is a hot moment. Absolutely. So filled with tension.
Absolutely. Thank you for going back.
Sorry, I feel like it
That
needed this
whole air
moment
no,
because
the
I like
whole section is very tense. Right after that, it says, "It took 6 EMTs and 2 teachers to shift the van far enough away from us." So, Edward has the strength of probably more than 6 EMTs and 2 teachers. Just something to keep note of.
yeah, they also put a neck brace on her, which
And
she
she was
said
so
she almost
embarrassed.
died of humiliation when they put on the neck brace, which, like, honestly fair. Also, Edward didn't have to get checked out. Like, how does he just have that power over people? I don't know.
Well, he said, it's all about who you know and maybe having your doctor dad.
Your
Okay.
hot doctor dad. We'll get to that. I also think there was a moment where Bella, I almost said Chief Swan, when Charlie sees her, he's like, Bella, and she goes, I'm completely fine, Dad, and she calls him Dad, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
One thing also on this page, on page 59, and she's talking about Edward, it's as if he braced himself against the car with enough force to damage the metal frame. And then she says this thing about his family. And
Mhm.
then there was his family looking on from the distance with expressions that range from disapproval to fury, but held no hint of concern for their brother's safety. That's if, like, out of context, obviously we know that they're fucking vampires, they're scared about the secret. Out of context, that's fucking crazy. Your brother was just involved in a car accident and you're mad. You're
Like,
pissed.
they really couldn't even pretend for a second that they were concerned so that people wouldn't be like, "Oh my god, why aren't they concerned?"
They are the worst fucking liars ever. Why are they the stupidest vampires ever and the worst liars? They've had so many years to practice. Come on.
I would also just like to add right before that, well, I mean, maybe it doesn't really matter, but she does say that the dent in the cars matched Edward's shoulders, and I thought that was, again, I like, even though this scene is I don't know, it's that thing where, adrenaline just makes you horny, so
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely.
then we get to the hospital and she just rips that neck brace right off and she throws it under the bed because she is so embarrassed. They left the curtain open and so like everyone can see inside of the room. And right next to her is the student that was behind the wheel. His name is Tyler Crowley. He was from her government class. He's like, Bella, I'm so sorry. And she's like, I'm fine. Like he looks worse than she does, and he was like, I thought I was gonna kill you. I was going too fast. I hit the ice wrong. And she's like, it's fine, it's fine. And he just keeps, she even closes her eyes and just sort of tries to ignore him, and he's just begging for her to forgive him.
Something I wanna just point out is, so in the movies, as we love to go back to, I think we talked about this in the first episode because you mentioned, oh, like in the movie, it's when Mike and Tyler, they go up to Bella and they kiss her on the first day on the cheek when they're in the lunchroom and they're like, oh, I don't know what the fuck they say, but they're like, "Oh, first day, Bella," something like that. New girl. I think they say something about the new girl.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. My girl is what he
my
he he
girl.
kisses her and he says, my
Yeah.
girl.
And I think that because they don't really that they don't that doesn't happen in the book. And I think that they just needed, like, in a movie to show this character that's gonna have a big plot point in like two scenes. So I just think that's interesting. That's my whole point.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting too. They sort of, in the book they just add him for a moment. I wonder if he's gonna come up later. This is basically as far as I got when I was younger, so.
But then kind of a little bit of a big moment for Bella. She's talking to Tyler and he says, "How did you get out of the way so fast? You were there and then you were gone." And she says, Edward pulled me out of the way." He looks confused. "Who?" And I think that's funny that he doesn't know who Edward is. And then she said, "Edward Cullen. He was standing next to me. I'd always been a terrible liar. I didn't sound convincing at all." "Cullen? I didn't see him." "Wow, it was all so fast, I guess. Is he okay?" So I just think that she's got some supporting evidence, not
Yeah,
just that's always
exactly. They take her to get an X-ray. She doesn't have a concussion. She's fine. And while she is waiting for a doctor to come check her out, Tyler just continues to apologize and he's like, "I'll make it up to you. I'm so sorry." Then a doctor walked in. She says, "Then a doctor walked around the corner and my mouth dropped. He was
ah,
pale though and tired looking with circles under his eyes." So, as we can suspect, this was Edward's father, Dr. Cullen.
and he says, "Thomas Swan, how are you feeling?" She also says he said it in a remarkably appealing voice, which I can only imagine. Dr. Cullen. He goes over the x-rays. She doesn't have a concussion. He has cold fingers. Cold fingers.
But ding.
But ding, check. And then he's like, "Your father's in the waiting room. You can go home." Something I think is really funny. She goes, "Can't I go back to school?" Girl, take the day off. You were just in a fucking car accident.
No,
Crazy?
I said the same thing. I said, she asked if she can go back to school, which is sort of insane. I mean,
She's
she's going to receive so much unwanted attention, but she really just wants to go back so that she can spend the rest of the day with Edward.
Oh, that's actually kind of sweet. I remember having a crush on someone in high
I
school
know,
and being
right?
so excited to go to like class. Oh, that is cute.
It
Bella's
is really cute.
traumatized for me.
She's just, yeah, she has such a big crush on Edward, and I don't think she like has fully come to terms with it quite yet.
Well, it's so funny. She goes, "Can't take it back to school." And then Edward said, or Dr. Collins says, "Maybe you should take it easy." She glances at Edward. Does he get to go to school? "Someone has to spread the good news that we survived," Edward said smugly. He's always saying shit smugly. He always has some smug ass smile on his fucking face.
Then Dr. Cullen actually comes in. He says, "Well, most of the school seems to be in the waiting room." So then, we get to see Bella's embarrassment. She's not excited to see everyone in the waiting room.
Wait. Before she goes into the waiting room, she's like finishing up the conversation with Dr. Cullen. He's like, "Take some Tylenol." And he says, it sounds like you were extremely lucky." And she says, "Lucky Edward happened to be standing next to me." And he said, "Oh, well, yes," Dr. Cullen agreed, suddenly occupied with the papers in front of him. Then he looked away at Tyler and walked to the next bed. My intuition flickered. The doctor was in on it. I just
I
love
love this
that
scene.
sentence. I love you, Stephenie Meyer. That's the best sentence ever. My intuition flickered. The doctor was in on it.
Her little spidey senses.
Then she's like, "Edward, we have to talk. Can I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah.
Alone, if you don't mind."
And he's like, "Oh, you should go talk to your dad." And she's like, "Yeah, no, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you before anything else." And
Okay.
so he strides down the long room and she has to run to keep up with him. Not fully, but just a light jog. They get to the corner and he spins around and he's like, "What do you want?" Sounding annoyed. His eyes were cold. His unfriendliness intimidated me. My words came out with less severity than I'd intended. "You owe me an explanation," I reminded him. "I saved your life. I don't owe you anything." I flinched back from the resentment in his voice. "You promised." "Bella, you hit your head. You don't know what you're talking about." His tone was cutting.
Gaslight.
He is Mr. Gaslight.
Yeah.
And she goes, "There's nothing wrong with my head." He glared back. "What do you want from me, Bella?" "I want to know the truth," I said. "I want to know why I'm lying for you."
Boom. Got him.
Boom. Then he goes, "What do you think happened?" And she tells him, she's like, "You were not close to me. You smacked the van and you like picked up the van and there was a giant dent." And he goes, "You think I lifted a van off of you?" With like a little ah,
I like the sentence before that. She says he was staring at me I hate this word. He was staring at me incredulously, but his face was tense, defensive. I feel like he's like looking at her like she's an idiot, but he is clearly on guard. So, I don't know. He's just so smug. You think I lifted a van off of you? It's like an older brother being like, I don't know. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, she questioned her sanity and she's like, What?" She says, "It was like a perfectly delivered line by a skilled actor."
He goes, nobody will believe that, you know? His voice held an edge of derision now. I don't know. He's just so snotty.
He is, assures him. She says, "I'm not going to tell anybody." And he's surprised by that. And he's like, "Then why does it matter?" She said, "It matters to me. I don't like to lie, so there better be a good reason why I'm doing it." Which, I don't know.
Like, fair. Like, I get that. She is just so persistent. Like the line where a couple of sentences ago, where he's like, he turned around like he was annoyed at me. Yeah, he probably is annoyed at you. You won't shut the fuck up about this.
Yeah.
But then he is so good at gaslighting. He's like, can't you just thank me and get over it? Just like, okay. He's just like a classic gaslighter.
I mean, yeah, he says, "Can't you just thank me and get over it?" She says, "Thank you." And she's still looking at him and she just wanting more. And she said, "Wait," I waited, fuming and expectant. "You're not gonna let it go, are you?" "No." "Then in that case, I hope you enjoy disappointment." And they scowl at each other and they
The movie scene of this is intense as fuck.
this isn't a really intense scene.
Hilarious.
And she said, "I was in danger of being distracted by his livid, glorious face. It was like trying to stare down." It's glorious. She said it was like trying to stare down a destroying angel. Did you look up what a destroying angel is? Do you know?
No,
Okay, well, a
I feel like
destroying angel is a two things. One, it is a toxic mushroom called the destroying angel. It's like one of the most poisonous mushrooms ever. And two, it is from the Bible, of course. It is an entity sent out by God on several occasions to deal with numerous peoples, and they are messengers of death. So
oh, okay.
yeah,
Damn.
they they almost destroyed Jerusalem, and they stand between the death and the heaven. I, I don't know. It's yeah, just sort of interesting.
That is
Also,
interesting.
nothing more about destroying angels,
Nothing
but
awful. And then she goes, why did you even bother? I asked frigidly. I wrote, whoa, next to that, because that is why did you even bother saving my life? That's a crazy fucking question. He paused, and for a brief moment, his stunning face was unexpectedly vulnerable. She cannot shut up about how beautiful he is.
he
And then he goes, I don't know. He whispered, I don't know. Whew, that is rough.
it's like in that moment he is questioning everything. Like his whole life he's never done anything like this. Like he is the only one of his siblings that is single because he really hasn't like doesn't want that. He doesn't want. I mean, later in the books he mentions so much about he doesn't want to bring that to somebody, you know. Before we move forward, I would like to add that this is the "you slapped a fish" scene. And if you don't remember,
I don't remember, I
it
guess.
is a clip from bad lip reading of Twilight. And we can watch the full
Oh
thing, but
my God, yes.
uh,
But you have to play, yeah, you have to play it.
I'm gonna play it. I'm sharing my screen and I'm just gonna play the "you slapped a fish" section.
Oh my God.
Dude, you slapped a fish. You punched it. Why would you hit it?
I want to make some seafood.
That's so loserly.
Like, genuinely, if I could go back to being 13 years old, 12 years old, however fucking old I was, watching bad lip readings in my fucking friend's kitchen on her little shitty little laptop, I would do anything. On like even like the home computer, laughing it up.
So good.
Would give anything for that.
I'm checking in on them. I'm seeing if they're still posting things.
Bro,
Oh
but
my
they
God, they actually
love to do sports games.
9 months ago, they posted even more Twilight. Bad lip reading of Twilight Breaking Dawn
We've got
Part 1.
our next up. What we're gonna
Yeah.
watch along. Bad lip
Yeah,
read.
exactly. A watch along. That will be the short that we watch before the movie. It also has like State of the Union. Yeah, anyway.
They're all over the place. That's so funny.
Yeah, shout out Brad.
She goes to the waiting room and she says the waiting room was more unpleasant than I'd feared. It seemed like every face I knew in Forks was there. So Charlie comes and collects her. She again is like, nothing's wrong with me. And
She said, I was still aggravated, not in the mood for chit chat.
literally, and she barely even looks at Mike, Jessica, and Eric, who were all, worried about her as these new friends are, whatever, but she does not even care. She waves at them sheepishly, hoping to convey that they don't need to worry anymore. They drive in silence.
Yeah, she just can't stop thinking about like she knows what happens, but Edward is lying straight to her face. And also, he's like, I don't know why I saved you. I'm like, she's sort of thinking like, does he want me to die? Like, it's, it, I don't know.
Does he want to die? So
Like,
true.
I feel like when I first watched that scene and like when I first read this, like as a kid, like if somebody said like, I don't know why I saved you, then
That's crazy.
they get home and Charlie says, you need to call Renee.
He does not say he says which also, can I just say, Bia said a couple days ago, she's like, we need to, what did you say? You were like, we need to shoot ourselves every time we say what did you say?
I said that we need a torture device that shocks us every time that we say
Yeah, and
because the last episode was so boring and so like it was so much exposition and we were so bored by the end of it that we just kept going yeah,
um,
so then
uh, I've done it multiple times this episode, but every time I do it, I'm like, no, stop. Because it really is so awful. And like in me and Bia's jobs, we have to do a lot of talking to people.
right.
And honestly, and like so much, they're probably like this fucking teenage girl. I
Well,
need
I
a
think
teacher to come whack my fucking wrists every time I say. We need to bring back corporal punishment.
corporate punishment.
Corporate our bosses come beat us over the head with sticks every time we don't meet a goal. Anyway, so they get home and Charlie finally spoke. He says, oh, you already said that.
Yeah. I just hear, and
It's
Bella
just
is,
for some reason.
yeah, Bella's pissed that that Charlie told Renee about Bella getting into a near-death accident.
That would be
Like,
insane
of
if you didn't.
course he told her, girl. Like, yes, I understand that you don't want to deal with your mom's craziness because she does say that when she called her mom back, she was in hysterics and she had to calm her mom down, which is so infuriating
I
because,
literally wrote, she sucks.
yeah, because Bella was the one that was in a near-death incident, not you. You
And
should
then
be comforting her.
she immediately begs her to come home. This is not the moment to guilt your daughter into coming home because you're upset that she got hurt.
Like,
Yeah.
this could have
Uh,
happened. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't have happened in Arizona because there's no ice in Arizona, but
but
she could have
anything.
gotten into, yeah, she could have gotten into any accident
They have
back home.
drive-through liquor stores in Arizona, so she doesn't need to be afraid of ice in Arizona. She needs to be afraid of drunk drivers and falling off of a cliffside because they have so many fucking mountains and rocks
And she's so
there.
clumsy, she
And she's
probably
so
would.
fucking clumsy. So that's what Bella, and she needs to be worried about dying of heat stroke because I don't know.
You're so right, Katie. Thank you. Also, she begs her to come home even though there's nobody home. So she's begging her to come home and there's like she would be coming home to an empty
They're
house.
playing baseball in Florida or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. And she also, even though she knows that she doesn't want to come home because it would be crazy, she's also sort of not wanting to come home because of a special someone.
I was consumed by the mystery Edward presented, and more than a little obsessed by Edward himself. Stupid, stupid, stupid. I wasn't as eager to escape Forks as I should be, as any normal, sane person would be. So even when she's like, I this guy got a crush, she still is like, fuck you, Forks. I fucking hate her.
And she's just calling herself stupid and she's like, no, like I don't know. I think a little more she's realized, yeah, I have a big giant like insane crush on this guy.
And then, yeah, what is the final sentence of this chapter?
Well, she decides to go to bed early and she drifts off to sleep after taking 3 Tylenol. And she says, that was the first night I dreamt of Edward Cullen.
All right, there we go.
Oh, oh my
Start of something
gosh.
beautiful and terrible.
Start of something new. Wow.
Yeah, that was crazy. Great chapter, great scene. Honestly, really short. It took me like
Really, really short.
obviously we're yapping away, so this who knows
I
how
mean,
fucking this will be, but
yeah, but short chapter, but like you said, yeah, action packed. My heart like skipped a beat reading that last line.
oh my God,
I
yeah.
I would, maybe we shouldn't say this because well, we know that in the movie, Edward was actually standing in her room. And so this was also the first night that, yeah, the first night that she dreams of Edward, he's standing in her room. And so, when we read Midnight Sun, maybe we'll see that as well.
For that, if I'm being honest. I know we're like not even close to that, but I'm scared.
I've never read it, so I'm really excited to,
I
get a
don't think
copy.
I don't think we have to we can't read it before. It needs to be like live. We need to live stream us reading
Uh,
it.
yeah, he watches her sleep that night. So a mutual obsession has been formed.
They're just so creepy. I think that's my biggest takeaway from okay, actually, I take that back. I'm gonna be not a bitch. I think it's really cute because I actually like I think this book gets a lot of rap for like, oh my God, the timeline. And yes, the timeline is crazy. They get married. Like we know that the timeline is crazy. But if you think about it in just the context of this book, having a crazy 3-month long crush on a guy that gets really intense in high school, yeah. Like I feel like I would crush on this random guy in my class who was nice to me one time and like I could create 6 months of a crush on that guy from that
Absolutely.
one interaction. So like she's interacting with this guy. He's giving her stuff. So I think that, like, I think optimistically, I want to look at this as like, "Aw, Bella has a crush, and it's sweet." That's so
Yeah.
that's my takeaway. What was your takeaway from this chapter?
My takeaway from this chapter is that tire chains are very important. And yeah, right now, the way that I see Bella is very much she's young. She has this really intense crush on this really intense guy, and I've been there. And it's really sweet.
Also a little scary, I feel like.
Very definitely scary because he is gaslighting her and with what's to come. I don't know. I
Okay. That's all we'll say. That's all.
That's all we'll say. What a wonderful way to end this episode.
You're right. Also, Bia, we never revisited our, intro, like we said we would, like
Oh,
SNL. Or we could say,
yes.
"Bye from our living room. It's Twilight tonight."
I like that. I like that. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank
I'm
you.
Bia.
I'm Katie.
Bye
Bye
from
from
our
our
living
living
room.
room. It's
It's
Twilight
Twilight
tonight.
tonight. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, down, bow. Maybe I should like meow it instead so that it's we don't get a meow, 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 meow. All right, I don't think so.
I will see you soon.
Bow, 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 bow. Bow, down, bow. If you like this episode, please leave a like and comment down below. And if you want to follow Edward and Bella's romance, please consider subscribing and follow Twilight Tonight for more episodes. And hey, thanks.